We're in the car. I've just snapped at my son for questioning my driving. And then I hear it. The sound of him shifting in his car seat. Uncomfortable, unsure, and then quietly like a mouse. Are you mad at me? Now, I didn't answer right away because in that moment I realized that this wasn't just about today. This had actually been building up for a couple weeks now, and I had let it. Every time he questioned whether I knew where I was going, whether we were going the right direction, I laughed it off, dismissed it. I never addressed it until it finally came out in a way that I'm not really proud of. That question, though, are you mad at me, told me everything that I needed to know about what my son was actually needed from me in that moment. Safety. And that's what today's about, okay? Because if you ever lost your temper with your kid, snapped, said something with an edge that scared even you, and then felt the weight of what just happened, then this video is for you. I'm gonna walk you through exactly what I did next and the process that I use every single time that I have to go back. And to back that up, we're gonna look at what the research says about why repair is more important and more powerful than perfection, and why apologizing to your kid doesn't mean you were wrong. My name is Aaron, and I've spent 12 years in the classroom as a science and PE teacher, working primarily with middle school age kids. I'm a father of two, and I'm the founder of Fatherhood, where I help dads go from dreading the hard moments to knowing exactly how to lead their kids through them. This channel is where I bring the science and the real moments together, and if that's something that you want more of, subscribe. New videos are coming soon. So before I walk you through what I actually did, I want to give you the reframe that changes how I approach this. Now, most dads fall into one of two traps, right? The first is believing that a good father doesn't lose his temper. That if you really had it all together, that you would never snap, you would never lose your temper, wouldn't have any of these moments at all, right? Now, the second trap is kind of the opposite. Believing that because you did rupture, that the damage is already done and there's really not much you can do about it once it happened. Now, again, both of these are wrong. And here's why. My son wasn't just responding to a single snap in that car, right? He'd been picking up something for a couple weeks now, because kids don't need you to say something for them to feel it. He knew that topic bothered me. He just didn't really know why, or whether it meant something about him. So when I finally snapped, that question of, are you mad at me? Wasn't just about the car ride. It was a culmination of weeks of quietly wondering whether or not dad had been carrying something toward him that he couldn't see at all. Research on mutual regulation helps explain why this matters. The damage in a parent-child relationship doesn't always come from one single explosion. It comes from a slow accumulation of small misattunements and the story a child quietly builds about themselves because of them. Which means that the repair wasn't just about the snap. It was about finally getting curious about something I had been dismissing long before that last car ride. Now here's the piece that I think most dads get wrong about repair. They think that apologizing means they were wrong about the boundary, so they don't do it. Or they over-apologize and accidentally walk the boundary back entirely, which then confuses the kid and undermines the relationship in a different way. When I apologized to my son in that car, I was not apologizing for setting a limit. I was not telling him it was okay to question my driving in a disrespectful way. I was apologizing for my tone, for the snap, and for how I showed up in that moment. That's it. Own your behavior and hold your line, both in the same conversation. That's the move, right? And leading research on attachment backs this up. Research shows that what separates stable relationships from ones that slowly fall apart over time isn't how often the conflict happens. It's that ratio of repair to rupture. The families that do well aren't the ones who never rupture, right? They're the ones that consistently go back. Perfectly attuned connection between a parent and child doesn't exist. What actually builds that secure attachment isn't the absence of rupture, it's the consistent presence of repair. If this lands for you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I put out videos every week on the science behind fatherhood and what it actually looks like in real moments. And if you feel like you need a reminder when you're out and about, comment repair and I'll send you the Anchored Fathers Repair Field Guide. It'll help you in a pinch as you are building those regulation muscles. Now, I want to address something you might already be thinking, because I think I know what some of you are going to say. Aaron, this sounds all good, but in that moment, I'm not thinking about any of this, right? I'm activated, I'm frustrated, my nervous system is already running hot before the conversation even starts. How am I supposed to lead a repair from inside that state? Well, and the honest answer is you can't. And, well, not well anyway. What I've learned is that my capacity in a hard moment doesn't come from the moment itself. It comes from the work that I put in outside of that. Research on stress and burnout shows that the stress response has a beginning, middle, and an end. And if you don't complete the cycle, that stress stays in your body and shows up in your next hard moment, whether you want it to or not. So the regulation work that you do between hard moments is what's going to give you the capacity to catch yourself inside the hard moments. You're not just working on fatherhood when you're with your kids. You're working on it every time you move your body, you breathe intentionally, or you do something that helps your nervous system finish what it started. So that moment in the car didn't happen by accident. I had been taking care of my nervous system that week, playing basketball and so on. And that gave me just enough capacity to hear him shift in the car seat and catch myself before I escalated and made it worse. All right, so here's what I actually did. And I want to be specific because I think the word for word stuff here matters a lot more than just the concept by itself. So step 1, apologize first before you hear their side. I think this is one that most dads trip up on, because I think our instinct is to wait to see if they apologize first, to explain our side before we own it, right? Don't. The apology is disarming. Since both nervous systems in the moment are locked in battle, the apology is designed to disarm the other nervous system and create space that can be filled by connection. So I apologize to my son, specifically for the snap, not a "I'm sorry if I upset you," because that's not really an apology. That's a conditional statement wearing an apology's clothes. And I named what I did. So I snapped at you, and that wasn't okay. I'm sorry. A hollow apology tries to close the conversation down, while an apology looking for repair opens one up. The goal isn't to get him to say it's fine so we can move on. The goal is to create enough space so that he can actually tell me what's going on with him. Okay, step 2. Give space and signal that you're available. So I didn't immediately try to fix or launch into an explanation. I let the car get quiet for a moment, and then I said something that I learned from my wife, right? She taught me this early on in our relationship when I asked how she wanted me to communicate with her when things got hard between us. She said, "When you're ready to talk, I'm ready to listen." So I use that exact same language with my kids now. It does 2 things at one time. It signals that the lines of communication are open, and it gives them control over the timing. You're not forcing a conversation before they're regulated enough to have it. You're telling them that you're safe and available when they are. Step 3, ask for their perspective and then listen without interrupting. So after I apologized, I asked him what was going on, right? What worried him about the driving, why he kept asking whether I knew where we were going. And then he told me. He said we were taking a different route that he didn't recognize, and I could hear it immediately. The anxiety about being late, the discomfort of unfamiliar surroundings, right? I know that feeling because I have it too. My son was showing me my own anxiety in a smaller body. That's an awareness moment sitting right in the middle of a connection conversation, right? The more you understand your own nervous system, the faster you can recognize it in your kids. So I let him finish and I didn't interrupt. I didn't correct him. Even when part of what he said wasn't quite accurate, I let him get all of it out first. Because the goal in that moment is not to establish facts, it's to make him feel heard and feel seen. Step 4, thank them for sharing. Simple. 2 seconds, genuinely underused, right? Thank you for telling me that, or thank you for trusting me with that. It signals that their perspective had value to you, that you asked because you actually wanted to know, not because you were just waiting for your turn to talk. Step 5, address the boundary, and if needed, co-create the language. After I thanked him, I explained the map on the screen, right? I told him that I always have the navigation up whenever we're going somewhere, even if it's places that we've been before, because you never know, like construction can be happening, or sometimes we just need an alternate route because of traffic. I told him that whenever I choose a different way, I do so to keep them safe. And then I went one step further. I taught him the language that works for both of us. Because the way that he had been asking before, do you even know where you're going, was landing in a way that wasn't productive for me. It had a tone that read as disrespect, even when that probably wasn't what he meant. So instead of shutting it down, I gave him a version that works for both of us. I told him he could always say, "Excuse me, Dad, are we going a different way today?" Or, "I don't recognize this area, are we going a different way?" That keeps the conversation open and it doesn't activate my nervous system in the same way. So we didn't just repair the moment, we built a communication system together. And here's what I want you to notice, right? That entire process, the space, the apology, the curiosity, listening, boundary, I use it with my wife, I use it with my students of 12 years. The principles don't change because one person is smaller, right? Everyone wants to feel heard before they're willing to move. And your 4-year old, your partner, your students, we're all wired in the same way on this. Now, I want to leave you with a piece of this that I think matters the most, right? Because repair isn't just about fixing the moment that you're in. It's about what you're teaching, right? Research on trauma says that the crucial point isn't that you made a mistake as a parent, it's how you handle it, right? The repair part is the teaching. So when you go back to your kid, own what you did, hold the boundary, and reconnect without pretending that nothing happened. You're not just solving a problem, you're writing a script for your child. A script that your child will use for the rest of their life when they're the ones who need to go back to someone that they hurt. So leading research on social learning is clear on this, right? Children don't need direct instruction to learn behavior. They learn by watching the high status adults in their lives. And as a father, you are the highest status adult in your child's world. What you do when you're wrong is what they'll do when they're wrong. And this is why physical punishment doesn't work the way people think it does. If you don't want your child to hit when they're frustrated, they cannot watch you hit when you're frustrated. And the research on this is not ambiguous. Children exposed to aggressive adult models are significantly more likely to use aggression themselves. Not because they're bad kids, but because they're doing exactly what they were shown. Modeling is not a parenting strategy. It is the parenting strategy. Everything else is secondary to what they watch you do. I've been wrong before. As a father, as a husband, as a man. And every single time, I've gone back. Not because it was easy, right? Because pride is a real thing and it doesn't go down without a fight. But I refuse to let pride cost my kids the model that they deserve. Because what they're learning when I go back isn't just how this argument gets resolved. They're learning what a man looks like when he's wrong and doesn't let that stop him from doing right by the people he loves. That is the most important thing I will ever teach them. And I learned it by doing it badly first and choosing to go back anyway. Okay, back to the car. After that conversation, something shifted between us, right? Not because I gave this perfect halftime speech, not because I said everything exactly right, because I went back, right? Because I stayed curious instead of got defensive, because I held the boundary and the relationship at the same time. He stopped asking, "Do you even know where you're going?" after that, because I finally understood where it was coming from. And he finally understood that I was paying attention. "Are you mad at me?" That question told me everything about what he needed from me. Again, safety. The knowledge that when things get hard between us, I come back. That's the whole move. Go back every time. Not perfectly, not without it being uncomfortable, just consistently. Because the father who goes back is the father his kids will come back to when they become adults. Think about the last time your kid asked you something like that. Maybe it wasn't those exact words, but you know the moment. The question underneath that question, what did it tell you about what they needed from you? If this helped, share it with a dad who needs it. And remember, comment repair, and I'll send you the Anchored Fathers Repair Field Guide right away. I'll see you in the next one.